Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Chiapas in Mexico. We are in the very south of Mexico, and we are bordering Guatemala right here, which is important to its history. Mexico, in my opinion, has like three distinct geographic regions. In the north is the desert, in the center is the plateaus and mountains, and in the south is the forest. And that's where we are tonight, especially around this area here. It's known as the Lacandon rainforest. It used to be the whole thing, unfortunately, but this forest has a lot of secrets in it, including some Mayan sites here that we'll look at on Google Earth. But there's more than just forest here. There is a spine of mountains going along here called the Sierra Madre de Chiapas, right along the Pacific Ocean coastline in the Gulf of Tehuantepec. And in the center is the highlands area. It gets much lower down here, heading down to the Gulf of Mexico. So it goes high and down to low, essentially. In that highlands area, you can see are lots of rivers and lakes. There are some huge reservoir lakes along the rivers here. And there are also canyons, the most famous by far being the Sumidero Canyon, which is not on my map, but it's right here. Of course, we'll look at it on Google Earth. It's stunning. It looks like a tiny Grand Canyon, in my opinion. It's also in this area where we find the major population centers of Chiapas, including San Cristobal de las Casas and the capital, Tuxtla Gutierrez. I hope that's how you say that. It's a Nahuatl word. Tuxtla. I hope. I've been practicing. Here in the forest, like I said, there are some Mayan sites. But the most famous one is up here, and that is Palenque. And this site is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let me get my tablet. And I have to adjust because my camera's at a weird angle, so I have to peek up and make sure that you can see. Okay, there we go. Pre-Hispanic City and National Park of Palenque. A prime example of a Mayan sanctuary of the classical period, Palenque was at its height between the years 500 and 700, when its influence extended throughout the basin of the Usumacinta River. The elegance and craftsmanship of the buildings, as well as the lightness of the sculpted reliefs with their Mayan mythological themes, attest to the creative genius of this civilization. And of course, we'll look at it on Google Earth, but there are so many buildings that have been uncovered, all with incredible findings inside, carvings and statues and relics and artifacts and tombs. It's pretty amazing, and I feel like they've only scratched the surface. There's far more to be found. And of course, we'll look at it on Google Earth later. How can we not? So let's talk about the history of this area, which is going to be a bit brief. I'm going to shrink it down, so it's not going to be a very detailed history. I'm just going to give you the bare bones basics. There's also been quite a bit of unrest in this state in the past 30 years or so. And I'm not going to get into graphic detail about what's gone on there, just because this is a relaxation channel. And also I don't want to get demonetized. So I will treat it with kid gloves, but I am not trying to diminish any of the violence or make light of the reason why these people are speaking up and making their voices heard. We'll get into it. Just not in extreme detail. So the first humans would have arrived in this part of the world around the year 7000 BCE. Around 1500 BCE, corn cultivation would begin. Slowly but surely, farming communities would form. Of course, the biggest, most important civilization in the ancient times were the Mayans, who dominated this area and the whole Yucatan, Guatemala, into Belize, this whole area between the 300s and the 900s. Again, just a brief, not a lot of details about the Mayans tonight, just that they rose and fell. And no one quite knows why they fell. There are probably a multitude of reasons why the civilization collapsed, but that doesn't mean that they all died out. There are still Mayans around. But there are also many, many, many other indigenous groups that live here that have splintered off from the Mayans and from other groups. The most important we're going to talk about are, of course, the Chiapas, and the Zoques, who live around Tuxtla in this area here. But there are many others. The Spanish would have first entered here in 1523, fresh off of conquering the Aztecs. They would have subdued this area in 1528, and they would found this city here, but it was not called this. They called it Villarreal de Chiapa. Over time, the name would morph and morph until it became San Cristobal de las Casas. Many Spaniards arrived to establish huge farmlands, and the original plan was the encomienda system, which was, to put it very lightly, a system where they would take in the indigenous people, force them to work, and in payment they would teach them about Spanish civilization and religion and try to make them Catholic and speak their language and wear their clothes and such like that to, pay them. It was slavery, right? It was glorified slavery. But that would soon morph into the hacienda system, which was kind of similar to the plantation system up there in the USA back in the day. It was slavery. And using that indigenous labor, of course, those who didn't die during fighting against the Spanish, resisting against them, or those who succumbed to the various diseases that the Spaniards brought along with them. It turned into a system of oppression against the indigenous population. And of course, eventually there'd be a mestizo population, mixed Spanish and indigenous, and they would be like the middle tier of their caste system, right? But very famously, this area would break away from Spain in the early 1800s. And the state here originally thought, well, let's be independent. Let's be our own thing. In 1821, they declared independence. Prior to this, the Spanish had lumped this area in with Guatemala. Guatemala had joined the rest of Central America to form one big Central American country. So many people here were debating, should we just do our own thing, or should we join Guatemala, or should we join Mexico? And surprise and shock, as you can see, in 1824 they joined Mexico. Many powerful elites from those haciendas that essentially became like the most important prominent class here wanted to join Mexico, so they did. That important prominent class would shape the history of Chiapas for a very, very long time. As Mexico went through various, regime changes and the revolution in the early 1900s, life kind of stayed the same here. It was affected, but not very much. Not until much later. The people here made sure that business kept going as usual, coffee being the biggest industry in time. And there was a lot of political turmoil. There was the right and the left, conservatives and liberals. that were not just battling for power up in Mexico City, but among the social classes here. And if I recall, hopefully, I think I'm right, more of the conservatives lived in San Cristobal and more of the liberals lived in Tuxtla. And in 1892, when the liberals had power, they moved the capital there. And it has stayed there ever since. But yeah, the Mexican Revolution was not far behind. It didn't quite galvanize this area like it did other parts of central Mexico. The galvanization didn't really happen until about the late 1970s into the 1980s, when people here, mainly the indigenous communities, started to say enough is enough. We have been treated so poorly for so long, since 1523. Enough is enough. They're putting their foot down and saying, we want change, and boy do we want it now. A movement formed known as the Zapatistas, named after Emiliano Zapata, a very important figure from the Mexican Revolution in the 1900s, 1910s. And in 1994, they officially created the Zapatista National Liberation Army, or the EZLN. It officially formed the day that I just blanked on what it's called. I didn't write it down because I knew that I would remember. The North American Trade, NAFTA? I don't know why that sounds wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. When the NAFTA treaty came into effect, North American Free Trade Agreement. I don't know why that sounds so wrong. But anyway, when NAFTA became a thing, that day, the EZLN officially formed, and they went and they took over various areas, including San Cristobal, I believe Tuxtla as well, but they took them over and said, you're going to listen to us or else. And it was very tumultuous. Again, we're not going to get quite into it. The movement still exists, but it's not quite as, dangerous as it once was. They're still very much around. You still don't want to toe the line with them. You don't want to push people in the EZLN, or they'll push you, if you know what I mean. I watched one travel blog that was trying to get to Yaxchilan. My goodness, I cannot talk today. Yaxchilan. And his guide said that would not be safe because there would be indigenous groups there that would not welcome you. It's like, man, it's still very much a thing there. You have to be careful. But on the other hand, good for them. More power to them. In my opinion, just, be chill. From what I understand, it's more of a militia thing as more than a political violent movement, It's more just like groups that will defend their territory, and they'll just keep an eye on you if you're around, and if you look suspicious, they will deal with you how they see fit, essentially, is how I see it. But if I'm way off, do let me know, okay? I am not Mexican. I have not been to Chiapas. I wish. My gosh, Palenque is on my bucket list. But do let me know if that's the case, or if I'm completely wrong. Any Mexican viewers out there? Hello, hola to my Mexican viewers. You guys are so lovely. You guys always leave such kind comments. But that is the history of Chiapas State in a nutshell. I could have gone into way more detail, but that is essentially the history of Chiapas. So let me go grab my tablet, let me dim the lights, and we're going to see some beautiful, beautiful sights here in Chiapas State. Let's go. Here we are in Chiapas. And let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here's beautiful Mexico. We've already covered quite a bit. We covered all of Baja, I believe, right? We covered Campeche. Next week we're going to do Chihuahua. I'm excited for that. But yeah, Mexico is technically, geographically in North America, along with Canada, the United States. Central American and the Caribbean are technically part of North America, but when people refer to North America, they're usually referring to Canada, United States, Mexico. Chiapas is down here in the south, and you can see what I mean. We've got the desert, the central plateau mountain area, and the forest. And that's where we are tonight. Let's start over here in the cities. Let's start in Tuxtla. There weren't actually a lot of very good slideshows here in Tuxtla, but I did want to show you. I believe there was a museum I wanted to show you, but I don't remember where it is. I'm so bad at this. Someday I'll get this right. I'll just remember where things are I want to show you. Someday. There was like a park. It was near a park. You can see all of the universities here. Is it up here? No, because that's the mountains. Maybe it was over here. Gosh, I'm so bad at this. How about this? Let me type in a word that's going to be kind of random, and that is marimba. Marimba Park. That's not the. Oh no, that is the one. Because here's the Museum of Marimbas. Marimbas, if you don't know, are these big xylophone things. You've heard one. Like if you think you've never heard one, yes, you have. They are the pride and joy of the people here. All of the local music incorporates marimbas. Ding, 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 ding. Very, very important aspect to the culture here. That's right. This cool neighborhood. And I was like, wow, what's over here? And it's just houses. Just a really cool round neighborhood. There is a national museum here, or a state museum, I should say. Is that it? I don't think so. Is it? The Anthropological Museum. But yeah, it wasn't. Maybe they've got an Olmec head. But yeah, the museum slideshows here weren't that good, but the ones over here. Oh my gosh, I went right past it. In San Cristobal are way cooler, I think. Pretty good slideshows. First of all, we have the Jade Museum, which is really neat because the Mayans really loved their jade. It was a very sacred stone. And they created amazing funeral masks like this one. Just kind of cool because like the ancient Chinese also made funeral masks out of jade. And they don't look too different from these. Like, I mean, they aren't exact, but it's the same concept of like death masks made from jade. And I think that's neat. But look at all of these like various items made of jade. How cool is that? That is amazing. Look at this. Wow. That's amazing. And then, because jade was so sacred to the Mayans, we also have the Amber Museum because that is a stone, I guess kind of a stone. That is important to the people here because it is mined. There's a scorpion trapped in that amber. A mineral that is mined locally here, even still to this day. Here's the Amber Marimba. That's amazing. In this old hacienda here. And look, they've made the amber into little creatures. Just big chunks of it here. The diamond cut there of amber. If you don't know, amber is fossilized tree sap, which is why sometimes you'll find things inside of it because little bugs and such will get stuck in the sap and then it fossilizes around it, preserving it. It's pretty cool. Amber's pretty neat. I'd say it's not a stone, it's not a mineral, but like it also is in a way. It's kind of neat. All right, I need to show you. Oh, wow, we're over here. You got to see the canyon. Sumidero Canyon, look at it from above. I'd show you the 3D, but the 3D can't quite handle it because it is intense. Look how gorgeous. Isn't it giving Grand Canyon? It's absolutely giving Grand Canyon right here. It is beautiful here. It's a must see if you're over in Tuxtla. Look at the waterfalls. There is a sad story about the indigenous peoples here. When the Spanish arrived, many people leaped off of these cliffs other than the other option, which was being subjugated by the Spanish. Just like, what a, whoa, careful, chompers. Just a tragedy, but the whole thing was a tragedy regardless. Sumidero Canyon, isn't that beautiful? I think that's my favorite natural spot in the state, but there are others. You know what I didn't mention was how much of the, I kind of mentioned how much of the rainforest here has been cleared for farming. A lot of it. A lot. Like I said, this whole area was once rainforest. And you can see the protected areas like this one here, but yeah, so much of the forest has been lost to agriculture and cattle farming. Like, here's the actual forest. That's all that's left of it. How sad is that? We'll get to that in a second, though. We have a coastline here. From what I can tell, it's not really like a beachy. There's a little beach right here. Like, it's not really a place you come to go to the beach, but there's like a coast here. It gets really mangrovey up here and swampy. Look at all that. My goodness. Wait, did that say the... Yeah, the Dead Sea. Not that Dead Sea. Not that Dead Sea. This Dead Sea. What are these? It looks like cenotes, but I don't think they are. Are they? I think they're just little watery areas. I don't think there are cenotes here. I haven't seen any. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Down here, let's go down to Tapachula, because there isn't, I don't think there is actually anything there to designate it, but Google Earth has it. Down, let me see, hold on. Yeah, down here somewhere. Oh, I just remembered another thing I didn't mention. Where is, am I completely off? Yes, I am, it's down here. The southernmost point in Mexico. Ta-da, here it is. Just beautiful butterfly. Yeah, I don't think there's anything here that marks, like, this is as far south in Mexico as you can go. But there it is. Ta-da, looks like they've... Yeah, there it is. What I didn't mention was this border here with Guatemala. Many people have crossed this border into Chiapas from Guatemala and El Salvador, but also other places in Central America, escaping things they needed to escape, if you know what I mean. Let's look at Tacana. So pretty. And that has led to many refugees, many immigrants, and all of the issues that comes up with population increases coming in like that. You know what I mean? Wow. Pretty. Wow. Pretty stars. I didn't mention that. That's an ongoing issue. There's Tacana. Tacana is also a Mayan city, I realized, but I didn't actually look up where it was because I was too busy looking at Palenque. Let me show you the forest. Here we go. So this is what's left of this beautiful rainforest here. There's some ruins, lots of artifacts, lots of waterfalls, beautiful trees as well. I'm sure there's so many secrets in this forest that we have not yet found. Wow, just buried, overgrown under the trees. Let me show you some of them. Bonampak is one of them. Let's see. Geographica, Bonampak. Beautiful old Mayan city. Wow. Or what's left of it, at least. Look how detailed. Mayan art is so cool. Oh, that one's more three-dimensional. Very three-dimensional. It seems like it pops out more than the other artworks. To all of the temples and such around. And painted rooms here. How cool is that? Yaxchilan's the other really, really big one. That is up here in this crook of the river. You can only access it by river. Yaxchilan. And like that one tourist video I saw, that this is not always the safest place to visit. Because these sites, like Bonampak I just showed you, are maintained by the indigenous people who still live here. So if they don't like you, they're going to deal with you however they want to deal with you, because this is their land. Look, you can see the writing there. Their script is so cool. There's a monkey friend. Yaxchilan. Amazing. Yeah, so many secrets, because you can see, like, where is it? Where it's buried, right? How much more of it is still buried, right? Who knows? But by far the most famous is... Dun, dun, dun. I'm like way off. Am I way off? Yes. Palenque. Pretend I didn't have. The most famous is dun 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 Palenque, which here's the town of Palenque. Over here is the Mayan city, which you can see some of the ruins from above. How cool is that? Let's take a look. There are so many cool temples and buildings that have been unearthed, and still some others that not. See, look at, isn't that amazing? That is so cool. Because like this looks like a bell tower to like a Mexican church. So like that style of architecture has just existed in this part of the world for thousands of years, apparently. How amazing. Big Step Pyramid. Palenque's amazing. Just like, I don't know how to describe it. Because like Chichen Itza and all that's left are the temples. But I feel like here, it feels like a city. It's like Pompeii energy, you know? Like you could really walk around and get a feel of what life was once like here. More so than like Chichen Itza or Tikal, where all that's left, all that survived are really just the temples. Although there are many temples that have survived here. I think the Temple of the Inscriptions is my favorite one. It's and a lot of cool findings have been found. That was a redundant sentence. A lot of cool artifacts have been found. These are letters, if I recall. Like, it's amazing how many buildings they've unearthed here. The video on UNESCO said that the archaeologist who first unearthed the ruins here is buried here. He has a tomb. It kind of looks like that. That might even be it. He has his tomb placed here among the ruins. Which, what a way to go out, I guess. What a way to immortalize yourself. You see, there's a temple over here. It just vanished. Back into the forest. The Oculto. Temple of Oculto. So yeah, there's still more out there. It's just that it's deep in this jungle. We've got to find it. I think that was all the big things I wanted to show you. There's some gorgeous waterfalls out here and natural areas, and as always, I highly encourage you to explore those areas on your own, because this is a gorgeous corner of the world. It is very sad that this is a very impoverished area. It's considered the poorest state in Mexico, but there are so many beautiful, beautiful things about it. I can't get enough, but I'm going to end it here for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Next, we're going to be hopping over to Taiwan, where we are going to see even more beautiful mountains and some charming cities, including the world's largest high-heeled shoe that is also a building. You don't want to miss that. I bet you can't guess what the purpose of that building is. It's not shopping. It's not for shoes. If you know, tell me down in the comments. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know, like I said, all your thoughts down below in the comments. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good